Hey guys, so today Nathan and I are going to be doing a spoiler-free review for The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French.
And this is actually something that I'm really excited to talk about because the author is actually my cousin. And it's really exciting to know someone who's worked really hard and kind of made it to where they've wanted to be, to actually get published by a major publishing company. So it's cool to be able to be a part of that.
Nathan and I were both able to read this book before its release date, which is actually today, June 19th. So after watching this review, if you want to go check it out, we will leave the Amazon link to it below so you can go purchase it for yourselves. But hopefully we will sell you with this video because we both loved it. So if it's okay, I'm just going to give a brief overview over what you can expect from this story. So The Grey Bastards is the story of a world where half-orcs who were once slaves to humans rule the Lot lands, and that's the land that lies between the human northern beautiful land of Hispartha from the land of the evil orcs who live in the south in Dargest. I can't remember how it would be pronounced. We'll have to ask Jonathan how that's pronounced. But basically these half-orcs, they live on the edge. They have a very rough life and they're living in a pretty desolate place. Jackal, our main character, is a part of the Grey Bastard tribe in the Lot lands, and the Grey Bastards is one of the many hoofs. That's how they're called. And
it's like their tribes.
Yeah, essentially. The land is broken up into different tribes of these half-orcs who patrol this land. This book starts with trouble brewing and it really doesn't quit. I mean, this book is full of adventure and you are constantly hooked, wondering what's going to happen next. It's written so well and so engaging because not only is it a fantastic plot and story, the characters totally grab you, and I loved that Jackal was our main character because he was just recklessly brave and so endearing, and to see his development and his hot-headedness even from the beginning of the book and how that developed throughout the whole story, it was wonderful to see. You just fall in love with him and with his friends and the Grey Bastards, and it's really good.
Obviously the author does a really good job of kind of keeping you hooked. I'm not necessarily like the best reader or like a predominant fiction high fantasy. I mean, Tolkien is up there and I like Tolkien, but it's hard to get into fantasy and it's hard to write good fantasy, and this is one of those where you're flipping the pages and you're going, hey, it's 11:30. I gotta read the next chapter. So there's a lot of intrigue. You're going to have like tons of questions. Be like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like this, and it doesn't necessarily go like that. And Kelsey's right. Jackal is this good character who shoots first and asks questions later, and just really is kind of ruled by his emotion. And you kind of get a good understanding of like, yeah, you know what, I would do that too. Like I would run into that room, or I would kick indoors. And Jonathan really like created this character who isn't this 007-esque character who is debonair and kind of has it all figured out, or is figuring it out as it goes. He's just kind of like you and me. He kind of stumbles across it and thinks he has it figured out, and then just takes that and goes with it. And so it makes him a really identifiable character.
Also, I like talking about how we each kind of fan cast these characters in our minds and how it just happens without you really planning for it to happen. But in my mind, Jackal was Khal Drogo.
Not to me. He wasn't that. But Oates talked and acted like Hagrid, and so I don't want to force that into your head, but
it's just like what our brains came up with, essentially. Yeah. In terms of rating, I would give this around like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think we're both on the same rating scale, and both for similar reasons. So I think we should set this warning now. This book is not for children.
Don't even let your kids touch it. It's
for an adult audience, for sure.
It's not fanfare. It's world building.
Yeah, it's really just showing the life that these half-orcs live. I mean, they're not living like these prim and proper lives like the royalty in Hispartha would, but like this is their life. They live, yes, in a gritty setting, and they are gritty characters, and that's just the way it is. So I just want to issue that warning though, if you are sensitive to like language.
Language tends to center around like a highly sexualized culture, and so there's a lot of sexual language, but it's world building.
And also with fantasy, I feel like it's pretty common. Not in young adult fantasy, which I mostly read young adult, but I've been getting more into adult fantasy, and it is not abnormal at all to read this kind of stuff. So if you're a normal fantasy reader, you won't even flinch at it. But if you're a young adult fantasy reader like myself, just know that it has its place in this book.
But if you're looking for a book that you're going to pick up and immediately get sucked into, the exposition of this book is incredible. He doesn't create a world by describing the world. You're just tossed into this world and you figure it out as you go.
Go on adventures. It's so good. And like the last 100 plus pages or so, both of us had the same thing. Because Nathan, I came home from work and he's like, I'm going to read the rest of the night, so I need to finish this and see you tomorrow.
100 pages to the end, you're not going to...
There's just so many revelations, and I love books that constantly have like plot twists and unraveling of things, and that's what this book is. I mean, you start off thinking the world is this way, and with each chapter you see that that's not actually how this world is, and Jackal is our main character, so we're seeing Jackal discover things that he never knew to be true about the people in the Grey Bastards, about the reasons why the Grey Bastards exist, about reasons for this war that occurred years ago. And there is a sequel to this book, so I'm very curious how much more we're going to learn about this world, but I'm really, really excited for the next book.
And obviously this is a shameless plug. I love my cousin. He did a really good job and he's worked hard for this, so you need to go buy this book. Jonathan French is a name that you are going to hear in the future.
Yeah.
And this book is going to be good. So get in on the ground level and be those people who are like, well, I read Harry Potter 1 when it first came out. So like, you need to be those people as well.
Also, I was having this thought, I didn't share it with you, but you would definitely agree with me. This book would make an amazing movie because it has the heart and it has the adventure. You would constantly be entertained and pulled into the story, but you could just see this going so far.
4.5, 4.7 is what I gave it at. And
pretty
it was
much
entertaining.
5 stars.
There are tons of other characters that you're going to really love, but I don't want to spoil any of this for you.
Also, I didn't touch on the fact that this book has a really good sense of humor. Genuine moments of laughing out loud for both of us. There was this fantastic humor element to it that worked so well and went in line with everything that was happening with the story.
Yeah, and I mean, just to maybe give you a little insight to my cousin, he is this really creative and funny guy. He grew up doing theater. He's always been doing creative things, and he's one of the best storytellers I really know. We used to sit around and kind of tell these stories and was so animated, and it's really cool to see somebody who you've grown up with and kind of see these like tertiary stories that you've heard about your grandfather sometimes, and then kind of see these nods in the book of going, hey, you know, I kind of remember this story. I think this is what he's talking about. He has done a really good job of creating humor that is identifiable.
Well, I think that wraps up our review because we do want to keep it spoiler free. So we will leave it here, but we would love to hear if you've read this book or if you're planning on reading this book. If you'd let us know in the comments, especially if you've read it, because I would love to talk about some more details with you. But just make sure you write spoiler like the first line of your comment so no one else gets spoiled by what you're talking about. That ends our review. Thank you so much for watching and happy reading. Hooves or hooves?
Hoofs.
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 Hoofs. So let's just start that again. Also, best hair.